Hello, good evening, Halima. Are you there? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. So let's start. So Halima and Ahmad, we will be starting a new chapter today. That will be final accounts. Okay. So first of all, in this chapter, we will start with the meaning of the final account. So guys, do you have any idea what is final account? Ahmad and Halima. Any idea what is the final account? Tell me, just say yes or no. Ahmad?
Okay.
Another accounts just like ledger, journal,
Oh, it is just another account like the ledger and
but bit different.
okay. All right. And Hamad, do you have any idea what is final account?
No, sir.
No. Okay, guys. Okay, if you can recall, if you are able to recall, probably in the very first session of your accountancy class, I might have explained the process of accounting. So are you able to recollect those things that I have explained in the very first class of the accountancy? What are the various process of accounting? Do you have any idea about that? Hamad and Halima? What are the process of accounting? I think I have explained 7 steps in the entire process of accounting.
Yes, sir.
From identifying
Summarizing, analysis, and interpretation.
Okay, so let's recall first of all, then we will continue. So in the process of accounting, I must have explained you that first step in the process of accounting is to identifying the identifying the business transaction, identifying the business transaction or financial transaction. This is the first step in the process of accounting. Financial transaction. Once the financial transactions are identified, what do we do after this?
analyze,
No, not analysis. Analysis is, I think it is the 7th or 6th step. Ahmad,
Measuring,
what do we do after identifying?
classifying,
No,
or measuring.
correct. Measuring. Measurement of the identified transaction. Measurement in terms of money, right? Measurement in terms of money. We need to measure all the transactions, all the business transaction in monetary terms, and that too in the common denomination. Let's say if I'm recording the value of a particular transaction in terms of rupee, then I'll have to record each and every transaction in terms of rupee only. Then after measurement, what do we do? Tell me.
recording,
Recording, correct. And where do we record the transaction for the very first time? Tell me.
journal,
Journal. Journal is also known as book of.
original entry,
Perfect. Very good. Book of original entry. Book of original entry. And after journal is done, what do we do then? After recording is done, we do
Classifying.
classifying. Perfect, Amma. Thank you. Classifying. And for classification purpose, what do we prepare?
Ledger.
Ledgers. Perfect. And once ledger is done, then what do we do?
summarize,
Summarize. Correct. And for summarizing purpose, we prepare 3 statements, right?
Trial balance, balance sheet, and trading
Trial
profit and,
balance
profit and loss
and
account.
trading account, profit and loss account, and finally the balance sheet, right?
Yes, sir.
These 3 statements are collectively known as summarizing of the it is known as the process of summarizing. So guys, this is what we call the preparation of the final account. This is known as the final account. I think we have already understood what is trial balance, right? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
we have already completed a chapter based on trial balance, right, Peer? After trial balance, we have now once trial balance is done, we need to prepare the final account. So final account, what is actually final account? Final account basically means financial statement that include trading account, profit and loss account, and the balance sheets. So these three statements are prepared, and all of these statements are collectively known as final account. So whenever we talk about final account, whenever you talk about final account, we need to prepare three accounts: trading account, then profit and loss account. Profit and loss account is also known as income statement. All right, and once the income statement is prepared, then we prepare the balance sheet. So in this chapter, we will be learning about all of these different statements: trading account, profit and loss account, and the balance sheet. All of these statements are collectively known as the final account, or you can also call it financial statements. Is that correct, everyone? Do you have any doubt?
No, sir.
No doubt.
Peer, any doubt? Peer, are you there? Why don't you respond these days? Peer, just a minute, guys. Let me send a message to him. Okay. So let's start with the definition of the final account. The final account or what? Final account means the financial statement which are prepared after preparing the trial balance. Is that correct, everyone? Final account are what? Final account are just financial statements. These are financial statements which are prepared after preparing the trial balance. And I am sure that you guys already know the meaning of the trial balance, right? Halima, Hamad, Peer, and Steve.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So a financial statement, that is final account, basically include these three accounts: trading account, profit and loss account, and the balance sheet. So first of all, we will talk about the trading account, then we will go step by step. First of all, we will talk about trading account, then we will talk about the profit and loss account, then we will proceed further with the balance sheet. Okay, this chapter you will find this chapter easy if you stay connected with the entire chapter. That means you do not skip these sessions and you basically revise everything after attending the session. Otherwise, because in this particular chapter, questions are going to be little lengthy as we proceed further in this chapter. Question will get lengthy, and if you are not revising enough at home, you will find this chapter difficult as compared to the other chapters that we have already done in the accountancy syllabus. All right. So first of all, let's start with the meaning of the trading account. So what is a trading account? Trading account is the first stage in the process of preparing the final account, right? And it is a financial statement which shows the result of buying and selling of goods and services during an accounting period. So whatever the goods that business is buying or services that business is basically receiving, all those goods and services that have been bought and sold by the business is recorded in this particular account. This is known as the trading account. Getting my point? So trading account is what? Trading account is a financial statement, number one. What does it shows? It shows the result of buying and selling of goods and services. So what do you mean by result? Result basically means whether on account of buying and selling of goods and services, whether you have generated profit or whether you have generated loss after the at the end of the accounting period. Right, Hamad? What is accounting period, Hamad? What do you mean by accounting period?
Sir, can you repeat, your voice is lagging?
I'm asking, what do you mean by accounting period? Do you have any idea what is accounting period?
Sir, it's like a period where they covers full the accounting transactions and functions.
The period for which accounting transactions are recorded, right? And this period generally start from 1st of April of a particular year and ends on 31st March of the next year. So accounting period is basically a 12-month period that start from the 1st April and ends on 31st March. Is that clear, everyone? Halima?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So if I ask you what is a trading account, you will say that trading account is a financial statement, number one. When I ask you what does it shows, you will say that it shows the result of buying and selling of goods and services at the end of the accounting year. What do you mean by the result of buying and selling? Result of buying and selling basically means whether at the end of the accounting period, on account of buying of goods and services, whether we have generated loss or profit, that can be traced through this particular account, which is the trading account. So basically it shows the gross profit earned or gross losses incurred during the accounting year. All right. Now, so what is the format of the trading account? This is how we prepare the trading account. Trading account is just like any other account. Like in other account as well, we have two sides, right? We have two sides. No, one is called the debit side and the other side is called the credit side. So left side of this particular account is called the debit side and the right side of the account is called the credit side, right, Halima? Right side is known as
Yes.
credit side and left side of the account is called the debit side. We have four columns in the trading account: particular amount on the left side and particular amount on the right side as well. So in this trading account, what do we record? First of all, on the credit side, we record the sales value of the enterprise. Whatever the value of goods that business have sold, we will be recording it on the credit side of the trading account. Okay. And but the value of sales in the trading account will be recorded after reducing the value of the sales return. Let's say if I'm selling the goods of rupees 5 lakh, right? If I'm selling the goods of rupees 5 lakh, but let's say customer have returned goods of rupees 70,000. So out of 5 lakh, goods returned is 70,000. So I will reduce 70,000 from 5 lakh and write down 4,30,000 in the final column of the trading account. Is that clear, everyone? Hamad,
Yes,
Halima,
sir.
and Steve.
Yes.
Is clear. So value of sales will be recorded in the trading account after adjusting the value of the sales return. Is this clear? Say yes or no.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, after the value of sales are recorded, we will record the value of the scrap sale. If enterprise is selling some kind of scrap and generating a particular revenue, certain amount of revenue, then it will also be recorded on the credit side of the trading account. It not necessarily that every firm will have these scrap sales, but if there is some scrap sales, it will be recorded on the credit side of the trading account. Is that clear? Can we move to the next point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, if there is closing stock given in the question, then closing stock is also recorded on the credit side of the trading account. All right. Now let's talk about the debit side of the trading account. On the debit side, we will write down the opening stock. Opening stock. So what is stock? Stock is the value of inventory. So whatever the value of inventory that a firm is having is known as the opening stock. At the beginning of the year, the total amount of inventory we have is called the opening stock. And at the end of the year, whatever the value of stock we have is known as the closing stock. And if we are purchasing few more stock during the year, then we will record it on the debit side again. Just a minute. This is not opening stock. This should be purchases. Just a minute. Let me correct this. Yes. So if we are purchasing goods from the market, we will be showing it to the on the debit side of the trading account. But after adjusting the value of the purchase return is called the return inward. Getting my point? Purchase return is called return inward, not return inward. It should be return. Purchase return it is, no? So purchase return should be written as return outward. Okay. So if we are purchasing stock from the market, we will be recording it on the debit side of the trial balance, but after adjusting the value of the return outward, that means purchase return. All right, let's say if I'm purchasing goods of rupees 4 lakh and I have returned goods costing 80,000, then I will write down the value of purchases after adjusting the value of the return outward. That means I will write down 3,20,000 on the debit side of the trading account. Tell me, Halima, Hamad, Peer, and Steve, is this clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Halima, is this
Yes.
clear? Okay. Now, if there is wages and salaries, we will also record this on the debit side of the trading account. What is wages and salaries, sir? Wages and salaries are considered as the direct expenses of the enterprise. So whatever the expenses that we have incurred in the process of basically operation, that is whatever the expenses that we have incurred till the goods have been brought to the factory is known as the direct expenses. So all the direct expenses should be debited in the trading account. Listen to me carefully. All the direct expenses should be debited to the trading account. Apart from wages and salaries, all the direct expenses should be debited to the trading account. All right. And if there are carriage inwards, that means if you have purchased goods and you have to pay the carriage, that is shipping charges or the transportation cost you have to bear, that will also be debited to the trading account. All right. And apart from, just a minute. Okay. After writing the value of the carriage inward, we will total the value of the credit side and write down the total of the credit side in the lowest column of the trading account. And after totaling the credit side, we will reduce all the values on the debit side. After totaling this side, we will write down the value here. And from this value, we will be reducing the value of the opening stock, then purchases and wages, salary, direct expenses, everything. And after reducing all the value, if we have a surplus amount, then it will be known as the gross profit. It will be known as gross profit. But if say this side is less than this side, credit side is less than the debit side, that means we will have a loss, gross loss. So if there is a loss, we will write it down on the credit side. If there is a profit, we will write it down on the debit side. That in simple term, we can say if credit side is more than the debit side, then there is a profit. It will be written on the debit side of the trading account. But if debit side is greater than the credit side, then we will have a loss that will be recorded on the credit side of the trading account. And after writing the gross profit or loss, we will write down the sum total of the debit side as well and tally both the sides of the trading account. Tell me, Hamad and Halima, do you find anything difficult in this? Let me know, please. Hamad.
So that gross profit and gross loss will be like balance account, isn't it?
Yeah, it will be a balance value. It will arise only at the end when you will be totaling both the sides. And at a particular time, only one thing will arise. Either there will be a profit, either there will be a loss. Getting my point?
Yes, sir. So what is opening stock and closing stock here?
Okay, just a minute. So as I told you, first of all, let's say we will write down on the debit side, we will write down the value of the two opening stock. Opening stock basically means what is the value of inventory that we had at the beginning of this year. So let's say at the beginning of the year, we have a stock of rupees 5 lakh. So we will write down the value of the opening stock. Then if I'm purchasing few more inventories during the year, we will be writing it here on the debit side only to purchases account. To purchases. Let's say I have bought goods of rupees 6 lakh, but out of this 6 lakh, I have also returned few stock. So return after purchases will be returned. Purchase will be written after writing down the reducing the value of the goods that has been returned. So let's say value of goods that has been returned is 1,50,000. So the final value will be 4,50,000. This will be written in the final column. All right. Then all the direct expenses will be recorded here. Is this clear, everyone? And also, if there are wages and salaries given, that will also be written on the debit side of the trading account. And on the credit side, we will be writing down the value of the sales after adjusting the value of the sales return, right? And also, if there is some revenue generated from sale of scrap, then it will also be written here. If there is some closing stock, then also it will also be recorded on the credit side of the trading account. And after writing all these values, we will total, first of all, we will total the credit side. And out of the value of the, out of this value, we will be reducing all of these things. We will reduce 5 lakh, then we will reduce 4,50,000, but then we will reduce the value of the direct expenses, let's say 1 lakh. And we will also reduce the value of the wages and salary, let's say 50,000. Okay. And let's say after reducing all these value, we have a surplus amount. Then this surplus amount will be considered as to gross profit. All right, Halima, is this clear? But if there is a loss, it will be known as what? It will be known as the by gross loss, and it will be written on the credit side. Or let's presume that sum total of this side. Let me calculate this. 5 lakh plus 4,50,000, 9,50,000, 10,50,000, and 11. Okay, so debit side is how much? 11 lakh. And let's say credit side is 13 lakh. So credit side is more than the debit side. So we will have a profit. Profit of how much? 2 lakh. Okay. But let's say it is only 8 lakhs, or let's say sum total of the credit side is only 7 lakh. In that case, we will have a loss of how much? 4 lakhs. So in that case, loss will be written on the credit side of the trial balance. Tell me, is this clear, everyone? Hamad?
Yes, sir, got it.
Yes, sir.
Any doubt? Peer, is this clear? Steve, is this clear? Peer, are you even attending the class?
Yes, sir, it's good.
Why don't you guys respond? Okay. So guys, please write this down. Please note this format down, or either take the screenshot of this, please. Tell me when you are done. You're taking the screenshot or writing it down? Hamad?
Yes, sir.
Screenshot.
Hamad, screenshot or writing?
The screenshot I took.
Screenshot. Okay, let's move to the next point. Now the question arises, so what is direct expenses? What is direct expenses? So direct expenses basically means all those expenses which are incurred on the goods purchase till they are brought to the place of business. All right. And the expenses which are incurred after it has been brought to the business are not considered as the direct expenses. All those are considered as the indirect expense. So direct expenses generally include all of these expenses: carriage inward, carriage and freight, manufacturing wages, power and fuel, factory power, electricity, factory rent and rates, duty on purchases, royalties, and consumable stores such as engine oil, cotton waste, oil grease. All of these things are considered as the direct expenses. Let me explain this in a little detail. See what I'm saying. Direct expenses are what? Direct expenses see, first of all, we have, let's say we have two units. One is the factory unit and one is the office unit of our enterprise. Okay. So when you buy, let's say when you buy stock from the market or inventory from the market. So for buying stock or inventory from the market, you will have to incur expenses to bring all those goods to the factory. So whatever the expenses that you incur for bringing goods to the from market to the factory, it will be considered as the direct expenses. So let's suppose you are buying goods from the market or from any supplier, and you are bringing all those stock and inventory to the factory. So whatever the expenses that you are incurring, like for example, you are paying for the freight. Okay, you are paying for the octroi, or you are paying for some kind of duty or taxes, or you are paying wages, or anything, any other thing. All of these will be considered as what? It will be considered as the direct expenses. Getting my point? And expenses that are incurred after reaching after reaching the factory. After, basically, let's say expenses incurred in between this factory to office, all of these expenses will be considered as the indirect expenses. So as far as the trading account is concerned, we only record direct expenses in the trading account. We do not record indirect expenses in the trading account. We only include direct expenses. Now the question arises, so what are direct expenses? So all of these are the example of the direct expenses. Carriage and freight, manufacturing wages, power and fuel, everything that is incurred for bringing the goods from the market to the factory, and whatever the expenses that we are incurring in the factory also, all are considered as the direct expenses. But expenses that are incurred once the goods are out from the factory, it reaches, let's say goods are sent to the sales department, or expenses are incurred in the office administration, all of those expenses are not treated as the direct expenses. Is that clear, everyone? What are actually direct expenses? Hamad, Halima, and Steve, Peer. Is this clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So direct expenses are the expenses incurred on the goods purchased till they are brought to the place of business. And also all those expenses that are incurred in the factory is also treated as the direct expenses. And what direct expenses will include? It will include carriage and freight, manufacturing wages, power, fuel, factory power and electricity, and factory rent and rates. Okay, and these are also considered as the direct expenses. Engine oil and grease, etc. Now let's do one question. Just a minute. We want to do this question now. Okay, so we will be doing this question, guys. So in this question, we need to prepare the trading account from the following information. So we have the information regarding the opening stock, purchases, sales, wages, carriage inward, carriage outward, manufacturing expenses, purchase return, sales return, gas, fuel, and power. Then we have dock charges, factory lighting, office lighting, etc. Okay, so question is clear, no? We need to prepare the trading account, everyone. Hamad and Alima, is this clear? Question
Yes,
is
sir.
clear to all of you? Don't worry about how we will be solving it. I'll help you with that. But just tell me, is question clear that we need to prepare the trading account in this? Hamad.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just a minute. So guys, prepare the format of the trading account first of all. Everyone, please prepare the format of the trading account. Everyone. Then we will be recording the transaction one by one. Okay, so this is how the trading account will be formed. First of all, we will be writing down trading account as on 31st March 2017. Tell me guys, is this clear? And on this will be the debit side. We will write down particulars, then amount, again particulars, and amount. Okay, so first thing that is given in the question is, guys, is this clear? This trading account is clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So first information is given in the question about the opening stock. Tell
Opening
me
stock.
on which side of the trading account I'll be recording this?
Debit.
Debit side.
Debit.
So I'll write down to opening stock. To opening stock. Okay. And the value was 2,50,000. So 2,50,000. Guys, I want all of you to record this along with me. To opening stock 2,50,000. Okay, let's move to the next point. Purchases. Purchases. Tell me on which side of the account we will be recording it. Purchases. Halima and Hamad.
Debit.
Debit side. And do we write down the value of the entire purchase in the debit side, or shall we adjust it with the purchase return? We need to write the value of the purchase after adjusting the value of the purchase return, or we can write down the entire amount. Tell me.
Purchase return will be with purchase account.
Purchase return will be adjusted, no? So two
Yes.
purchases. For value of purchases was 7 lakh, but we won't be writing the entire amount in the final column. So we will be reducing the value of the returns. So purchase return will be reduced. Purchase return. Value of purchase return was how much? It was 22,000. So we will reduce 22,000. 22,000. Tell me the balance amount. Anyone? 7 lakh minus 22,000. What will be the balance amount? 6 lakh and 78,000. Is that correct, everyone?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's move to the next item. Then we have sales. On which side of the trading account I'll be writing this? Come on, guys.
Credit.
Credit side. So we will write it down on the credit side by sales. But value of sales will also be written after adjusting the value of the sales return. So sales is 18 lakh, but we will adjust it with the return. Sales return, we will have to reduce it. So value of sales return was how much? Value of sales return was 36,000. So value of sales return is given in the question, that is 36,000. Are you guys able to find the value of the sales return? 36,000. Hamad and Halima, Peer, Steve.
Yes, sir.
Now tell me, next item is wages, right? So wages will be written on which side? Wages will be written on which side of the trading account?
Debit.
Hamad?
On
All
the
the
credit side.
expenses would be recorded on the debit side. This is it.
Yes.
So 2 wages on the debit side. 2,06,000. All right. Next item is carriage inward. Carriage inward basically means expenses incurred on purchase of goods is called carriage inward. Everyone, is this clear? Whatever the goods that we are purchasing, the expenses that we incur on purchase of goods, that is, let's say on the transportation expenses that we incurred on transportation, that means bringing goods to the factory, we have to incur the carriages. So whatever the carriage that you have paid on purchase of goods is known as carriage inward. So carriage inward will be recorded in the trading account or not? Yes or no? It will be
Yes, sir.
recorded in the carriage. Yes, it will be recorded. So 2 carriage inward will always be recorded in the trading account. 2 carriage inward. To carriage inward, and amount was 34,000. Okay. Next, tell me, what is the next item? Next item is carriage outward. Tell me, guys, do you think it is an expense? Yes or no? Do you think
It's an
carriage outward is
expense.
an expense, right? So it should be recorded in the trading account, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, Halima?
Yes.
Yes. No. It will not be recorded in the trading account. It won't be recorded in the trading account. You know why? Anyone?
So because it is an expense.
It is an expense, right? It is an expense, but it will not be recorded in the debit account. Sorry, in the trading account. Why? Because carriage outward is incurred on the carriage outward is basically means expenses incurred on sale of goods. Getting my point? What I have told you about direct expenses, all those expenses which we have incurred for bringing the goods to the factory, only those expenses will be taken into account. And all those expenses which has been incurred in the factory will be taken in the account while preparing the trading account. Getting my point? Only those expenses which has been incurred for bringing the goods to the factory will be recorded in the trading account, number one. And all those expenses which has been incurred in the factory will be recorded in the trading account. But tell me, carriage inward, do you think it is an expense incurred on the purchase of goods or the sale of goods? Tell me, carriage outward is the expense relating to purchase of goods or the sale of goods?
Sale.
Halima, Hamad. Guys, it is not clear. Do let me know, please. If it is not clear, if you are finding it difficult, do let me know. Carriage outward. Are you able to understand what is carriage outward, Hamad and Halima? Say yes or no. Hamad,
Yes, sir.
you understood what is carriage outward?
Yes, sir.
Halima, do you understood?
Yes.
Okay. So carriage outward is basically the expense incurred on shipping of goods from factory to customer. So carriage outward is basically expense relating to sales. Expense relating to sales are not considered as the direct expenses, right? This is not the direct expense. Therefore, it will not be recorded in the trading account. Can we move to the next point, Hamad and Halima? Hamad and Halima, can
Sir,
you,
so this will be debited.
carriage outward will be debited? Hamad, it should be debited, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
No, you guys are not able to understand this. See what I'm telling you, whatever the expenses that you have incurred in between market and factory. So whatever the expenses that you will incur for bringing the goods from the market to the factory will be taken into consideration while preparing the trading account. Is this clear, everyone? Tell me. Whatever the expense that you will incur on purchasing goods from the market till it is brought to the factory, all those expenses will be taken into account while preparing the trading accounts. Is this clear, everyone?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, also, whatever the expenses that will be incurred in the factory will also be taken into trading account. So expenses incurred here, it will be recorded in the trading account. Expenses incurred in the factory will also be recorded in the trading account. But expenses that are incurred after the factory will not be recorded in the trading account. It will not be recorded. So try to understand this. What is carriage inward? What is carriage inward? Carriage inward basically means you are paying carriages for the purchase of goods. You are paying carriages for the purchase of goods. You are paying the transportation charge for the purchase of goods. So tell me, expenses that are incurred on the purchase of goods will be taken into consideration, yes or no? Answer is yes. But carriage outward basically means what? Carriage outward basically means expenses incurred on sale of goods. So sale will only take place after the goods are out from the factory, yes or no? So carriage outward will be incurred somewhere here. So whatever the expenses that you incur here will not be recorded in the trading account. Is that clear, everyone? Hamad and Halima.
Yes, sir, clear.
Hamad,
Yes, sir.
are you sure?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's see. So tell me, what do you think? What about carriage outward? It should be recorded in the trading
Yes,
account,
sir.
yes or no?
No,
Sorry,
sir.
sir.
No, it should not be recorded. So therefore, I'll not be recording it. Next is manufacturing expenses. Tell me, do you think it should be recorded? Manufacturing expenses should be recorded in the trading account.
Yes.
Hamad? Hamad? Hamad?
Yes, sir.
Manufacturing expenses should be recorded in the trading account, yes or no?
No, sir.
No. Why not?
Because it is an expense.
Sorry?
So it is an expense.
So if it is an expense, it will not be recorded in the trading account? Hamad?
No, sir.
Just let me know now. If you are finding anything difficult, do let me know, please. If you are not able to understand anything, Hamad, please let me know. You are clear about what are the things that are taken into consideration while preparing the trading account? You are clear about this, yes or no? Do I need to explain everything again? No response. Hamad,
Yes, sir.
try to pay attention. What is trading account? Trading, in case of, while you prepare trading account, no, you record, what do you record? You will be recording in the trading account the value of sales, right? You will be recording the value of purchases, right? While preparing the trading account, you will also record the value of the opening stock, And also when you will prepare trading account, you will also record the value of the closing stock, right? Is this clear, Ammar?
Yes, sir.
Apart from all of these, you will also record the expenses. What expenses? Expenses that is incurred in the factory for the production of goods, and expenses that are incurred for bringing the goods till the to the factory, bringing goods to factory. Getting my point? All those expenses which are incurred for bringing the goods to the factory and all those costs which are actually incurred in the factory, all of these expenses are known as what? All of these expenses are known as direct expenses. Is this clear, Hamad?
Yes, sir.
And all those expenses which are incurred after outside the factory. Getting my point? Expenses which are incurred outside factory
Or indirect expenses.
are known as indirect expenses. Correct. Outside factory expenses are known as indirect expense. Sir, how do we treat indirect expenses? Indirect expenses are recorded in the profit and loss account, not the trading account. Was that clear? So right now we haven't learned about the preparation of the profit and loss account. We are just right now we are talking about the trading account. So indirect expenses are not recorded in the trading account. This is it. Expenses that are incurred outside factory are known as the indirect expenses. These are not recorded here. Is this clear now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now tell me, what do you think? What do you think manufacturing expenses is what? Do you think it has been incurred outside the factory or it will be incurred within the factory? Manufacturing, where do we manufacture goods? In the factory or outside the factory?
There it will be.
Hamad, it's an easy question. Where do we
It will
produce
be outward, right?
manufacture goods? We manufacture goods in the factory or outside the factory?
Outside the factory.
You
Oh,
prepare.
wait, wait. No, sir. We're manufacturing it inside the factory.
Are you okay? Is something wrong with you today? Hamad?
Yes, sir.
You okay now? Manufacturing expenses basically means expenses incurred on manufacturing of the goods. So where do we manufacture goods, in the factory or outside the factory?
In the factory.
So whatever the expenses that we are incurring on manufacturing, that will be considered as the direct expense or the indirect expense.
Direct expense. Indirect expense.
Direct. This will be considered as the direct expense.
Okay, sir. Okay. Sir, inside the factory means direct and outside the factory means indirect, right?
Yes.
Okay, sir.
So it is clearly mentioned in the question that it is a manufacturing expense. That means we must have incurred this expense on manufacturing of goods, and manufacturing must have taken place in the factory itself, right? So
Yes.
it will be treated as the direct expense. So we will be recording it in the trading account on the debit side.
Yes.
So to manufacturing expense. Halima, is this clear for you?
Yes, sir, clear.
Peer, is that clear? Peer is not going to respond today. So manufacturing expense is 2,48,000. 2,48,000. Okay, let's move to the next point. Tell me, purchase return. We have already treated purchase return. Sales return is also treated. Gas, fuel, and power. Gas, fuel, and power. What do you think? All of these expenses are related to factory, yes or no? Halima?
Related to factory.
Related to factory, correct. So this will be recorded in the trading account. Gas, fuel, and power, 75,000. So we will be recording it again on the debit side. Gas, fuel, and power, 75,000. All right, Hamad?
Yes, sir. All right.
Okay. Now, Next is dock charges. Dock charges is also considered as the, tell me, what do you think, what is it? Where it will be recorded? Dock charges will be
That will
taken
be recorded in the debit side.
on the
Debit.
side. Perfect.
Sir, dock charges are carriage inwards.
Yeah, you can treat it as a carriage inward. So value of the
Okay.
dock charges are 8,000. So we will be writing it here to dock charges. 8,000. Okay. Tell me more. Next item. Factory lighting. What do you think? This expense belongs to factory or somewhere else? It
Belong to
is
factory only.
related to factory or not?
It's related to factory, sir.
So it will be recorded in the trading account, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. So to factory lighting. To factory lighting. 96,000. Next. Next item is office lighting. What do you think? This is a factory expense. Do you think that?
No.
No, it is not a factory expense. Halima, is this a factory expense, office lighting? Halima, is this a factory expense? Office lighting is a factory expense.
I think it is.
You think, why do you think that? Why do you think it is a factory expense?
Just like they might be same building.
No, office expense is a separate and separate division. Office is a separate part of the production of the entity. So whatever the expenses that we incur in the factory itself will be considered as the direct only. Getting my point? An enterprise may have different department. So factory is one of the department. Then we will have the office administration department. So all those expenses which are directly incurred in the factory itself will be considered as the direct expenses. Expenses which are incurred in the office that are separate, those will be treated as the indirect expenses only. All right. Halima, is this clear?
Okay, so office lighting will be indirect expenses.
Yes, it will be indirect expenses. Therefore, it will not be recorded.
Okay.
Okay. Peer, are you there? Peer, are you there? Why are you not responding?
Tell me.
No, Peer. Do you have some problem with your microphone or something else? Why are you just writing it in the chat? I think you have also joined late for the class, no? Okay. So guys, this is it. We have entered all the transaction, all the expenses here. So now what do? What we will be doing? We will okay. Now we will total both the sides. So first of all, write down the value of the sales in the final column. 18 lakh minus 36,000. It will be 17 lakh. I think it will be 64,000. Right, everyone?
Yes, sir. 17,64,000.
Yes. So out of this, we will be reducing the just a minute. I think there is one thing missing in the question. Guys, we also have closing stock. Closing stock should be there in the question. I think I forgot to write down the value of the closing stock. So closing stock is also given in the question. It is 6 lakh. All right, everyone. Closing stock will also be given in this question. By mistake, I have not written in the PowerPoint. So closing stock, value of the closing stock is also given in the question. So we will write down the value of the closing stock in our trading account as well. Tell me, on which side
Okay,
of the
sir.
trading account we will write down the value of the closing stock? Hamar?
Credit.
Credit.
Credit side. So on the credit side, we will be writing by closing stock. Value of closing stock is given in the question 6 lakhs. 6 lakhs, it is given in the question. Okay. Now we will have to total both the sides. So first of all, we will start from the credit side. So let's total the credit side. It will be 17 lakh plus 6 lakh. How much it will be? 23 lakh 64,000, right?
Yes.
23 lakh 64,000. Okay. And out of 23 lakh 64,000, we will reduce 2 lakh 50,000. Just a minute, let me calculate this. So 2 lakh 36,000 and 23 lakh 64,000. We will reduce 2 lakh 50,000 out of it first, then 6 lakh 78,000, then 2 lakh 6,000, then 34,000, then 2 lakh 48,000 minus 75,000, then 8,000 and 96,000. So the final value is 7,69,000. What do you think? This is, we have surplus, no? So it will be known as, tell me, this balancing figure will be called what? 7,69,000 will be our profit or loss? Hamad?
Sir, it will be our loss.
Why it will be our loss?
Sir, the debit. Oh, sorry, it is the debit side. Sorry, sir. I was looking at the other side. It will be a profit.
If credit side is greater than the debit side, we will have a profit.
Yes.
All right. So we will write down to gross profit.
Okay.
To gross profit. Alima, is this clear?
Yes, sir. It's clear.
Yes.
7,69,000 is the value of the profit. Now we will tally both the sides. So now both the sides will have the same balance. To 23 lakh 64,000. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Clear.
All right. So you want to take the screenshot of this, or you have completed this?
So we have completed.
Complete. Okay. All right. So guys, this is the solution of the question, and this is it for today's class. I'm not giving you any question today for homework. I just want you to revise everything that we have learned in today's class. And in fact, I want you to do the same question that we have done here only. I'm not giving you any question for right now. We have there is no question that I can give you as homework. We will be doing few more questions in the next class. Only then I'll be able to give you questions in homework. All right, Hamad, Halima, Peer, and Steve.
Okay, sir.
So
Okay.
the only homework for all of you is that whatever we have discussed right now, you will have to revise everything, and make sure you revise everything before you attend the next session. And do not make the same mistakes as you have earlier made in the previous chapter, especially Peer and Steve, because we have started this chapter fresh today. So I want all of you to keep revising it and make sure you basically revise enough so that this chapter is not like other chapter. I mean, basically, if you'll revise everything, if you revise everything on a regular basis, only then you will be able to understand the entire thing in the chapter, because this chapter is going to be a lengthy one, and the question that we will be discussing in this chapter is also going to take a lot of time. It might possible that in the entire one session we will be in a position to solve only one question, because there are lengthy question in this particular chapter. So make sure you revise everything, otherwise everything will go in vain, and uh, you will find this chapter extremely difficult if you don't revise. All right, so this is it for account session. We will be taking a break of 5 minutes, then we will continue with our economics part. Steve. Steve, take a break of 5 minutes, then we will continue.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
So the new companies can't be verified in the documentation. Sir. Only 5 years advertisement and 5 years finance statement can approve it. It's,
Yes, Steve. Steve, are you there? Steve,
Sir,
yes, please turn on your camera, Steve. Yes, okay. So, okay. So what we have already learned in this subject, may promise what we were doing in the previous class. Could you please recall?
Thursday and etc.
Lot of noise.
Hello, sir.
Okay.
Hello. Sir, I think your network is not stable.
Sorry,
I think you have some network issue. You are lag.
we were having some network issue in the last class. And okay,
No, sir.
right now you are facing some problem.
I know, sir. You are lagging little bit.
Is it clear now? Am I audible right now?
Yes, you are audible right now, sir.
So let's do one thing. Let's start the topic. So in this chapter, we have discussed the meaning of the market. There, wherein I have explained that market is what market refers to a mechanism or an arrangement which makes selling and buying of goods convenient. All right. And I have told you that there are how many types of market are there, Steve? How many types of market are there on the basis of competition? Tell me. How many types of market are there, Steve?
Perfect competition market.
Mm-hmm. Apart from perfect competition, then we have monopoly, right? After monopoly, we have monopolistic competition. Then we have oligopoly, right? So I think we have understood what is perfect competition. Let me recall everything for you. Perfect competition. Perfect competition refers to a market situation where there are large number of buyers and sellers selling homogeneous product, and price of which is determined on the basis of market forces of demand and supply. Under such a market situation, an individual buyer or seller is not in a position to influence the market price of the commodity, and a perfectly competitive market is a hypothetical market. All of these things we have already discussed in this chapter. Other than this, we have also understood what is a monopoly. So can you please tell me what is monopoly market?
Where there is only one seller and several buyers.
Several buyers and only one seller. Okay. Anything else?
And here they are unique.
Okay, the product that buyer and that the product that seller is selling is unique, right? Okay, and
And there is rules and regulations to enter and exit the market.
Okay. So, all right. Monopoly market refers to a market situation wherein there is only one single seller in the market, and the product that he is selling has no close substitute available in the market. So all of these things we have discussed in the last class. Okay. And I think apart from all of these, we have also discussed the meaning of the monopolistic competition, right? Have we discussed this? What is monopolistic competition?
Yes, sir.
Tell me, what is monopolistic competition?
Monopolistic competition are
Yes. What is monopolistic competition? No idea. Steve, do you have the PowerPoint of this chapter? Yes, please go through the PowerPoint. Please revise
Sir,
everything.
where are you putting the PowerPoints?
I have shared the PowerPoint with Nishkarsh, and I hope he must have shared it with you.
No, sir.
You didn't got the PowerPoint?
In WhatsApp.
Yes, I think he must have WhatsApp you.
I didn't WhatsApp.
You didn't got.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's. What is monopolistic competition? Monopolistic competition is a type of imperfect competition, right? It is a type of imperfect competition, and monopolistic competition is a market situation where there are large number of buyers and sellers in the market, right? Repeat after me. How many buyers and sellers in the market?
A large number of buyers and sellers.
Large number of buyers and sellers in the market. And each and every seller is selling what kind of product? Every seller is selling differentiated product. Repeat after me. What kind of product they are selling?
Differentiated.
Differentiated product. What is the meaning of the differentiated product? Differentiated product basically means a product which are
different.
Sorry.
Every products are different.
Every product is, but I mean the product of every seller is different in this market. Every seller's product is different in terms of something. In terms of either it can be the size, color, taste, or anything, but product will be different. Okay. Next one. Firm present in the monopolistic competition has partial control over the price, right? Firm in this market only have partial control over the price of the commodity, not the full control over the price of the commodity. Other than this, we have also learned about the features of the monopolistic competition, wherein I have told you that there are large number of buyers and sellers in the market, and every buyer and seller are number of buyers and seller are so large that an individual seller or buyer do not have a very large proportion of the entire market share. In this type of market, no individual consumer has any control over the price of the commodity as well. Okay. Now let's talk about product differentiation. What is product differentiation? Product differentiation is basically one of the characteristic of the product. Product differentiation refers to that characteristic of a product which differentiate a product with the other good which are being sold in the market. A product can be differentiated on the basis of trademark, brand names, quality, size, quantity, and etc. All right, Steve?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, tell me, in this market, sellers are required to spend on advertisement. What do you think? In this kind of market, do sellers have to incur expenses on advertisement? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes?
No.
Yes, no? And why they will be spending on selling, why they will be spending on advertisement?
So more people.
So that more people can get attracted and more they will be in a position to sell more goods, right?
Yes, sir.
And also one of the other reason of the advertisement is that they want to increase their market shareholding, right? Market area. So if they, on a regular basis, if they advertise, it will bring more awareness regarding the company in the market, and eventually, uh, slowly and gradually, market will be able to acquire more share in the market, right?
Yes, sir.
So selling cost or advertisement cost are incurred in this market for two reasons. Number one, to bring awareness among the customers regarding the differentiated characteristic of the product. Company wants to inform customer regarding the product differentiation. That is the first reason. And also company wants to spend on advertisement, because through advertisement company will be in a position to increase their overall market shareholding. All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Moving on to the next slide. Please read this. Under this structure of market, a firm has to incur selling cost or advertisement cost in order to bring awareness about the differentiated feature or quality to the product, quality of the product. And the other purpose of incurring the advertisement cost is to enhance the market share of a firm. Okay. Now, this is also one of the special feature of the non-price competition, that buyers and seller do not compete with each other on the basis of price. All right.
Yes, sir.
Sellers do not compete with each other on the basis of price. That means in order to sell more quantity of the commodity, sellers will not be competing on the basis of prices. That means seller, in order to sell more quantity, seller will not reduce the price of the commodity. Like for example, say you are the seller of a product and I am the seller of a particular product. We both are dealing in a particular segment of good. Let's say both of us are selling mobile phones, right? And there are other sellers in the market as well. But right now we are talking about only you and me. So in order to sell more quantity as compared to you, I will not be reducing the price of the commodity, price of my mobile phone. Rather, I will work on better advertisement. I will work on my quality. I will work on my I will work on providing better features to my mobile phone so that I'll be in a position to compete with you. But I will not be competing with you on the basis of price. That means we cannot do that. If you are selling your mobile phone, let's say for rupees 20,000, and I bring the same mobile phone of same specification in the market rupees 10,000. This will be considered as the cheap advertisement tactic. So, cheap competition tactic. So in the monopolistic competition, we do not compete with each other on the basis of price. Price will remain same. Most of the firm do not charge different price in order to compete with each other. Rather, what do? They compete with each other on the basis of the following thing. They can compete with each other on the basis of after sale services. They can compete with each other on the basis of advertisement. They can compete with each other on the basis of sponsorship, offers, etc. All right, is this clear? Steve, is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the next feature of the monopolistic competition, that is freedom of entry and exit in the market. Freedom of entry and exit in the market. That means in the monopolistic competition, sellers do not have much restrictions on the entry and exit into and from the market. A firm can enter in the market anytime. An individual firm can exit the market anytime. So there is no restriction on entry and exit. All right, is this clear?
Yes, sir.
There will be no restriction. And why there is a no, how can we determine that there is no restriction? See, determination of restriction also depends upon, Steve, kindly turn on your camera, please. Why you turned off your camera? So how we can say that there is no restriction on entry and exit? See, if there would have been restrictions, then the number of sellers cannot be so large. While discussing about the monopolistic competition, I have told you that in case of monopolistic competition, we have large number of sellers, no? So that proves that there is no restriction in the market. Sellers are easily able to enter the market and seller is in a position to leave the market as well. So there is almost insignificant restriction on entry and exit from the market. Is that clear, Steve?
Yes, sir.
Keep listening to me carefully because I'll be asking you all of these features. So firms are free to leave the industry anytime they started, as soon as they start incurring losses, but there might be certain restriction on entry of a new firm in the industry. Entry in this industry may be restricted by some kind of license, patents, copyright. So there are few restriction on entry. However, mostly the entries are free and exit are also free. Now, the sixth characteristic of this market is that there are lack of perfect knowledge. There is lack of perfect. Sellers and buyers in this market do not, we presume that buyers and seller do not have the perfect knowledge about the market. That means sellers and buyers do not supposed to have the complete information about the market, right? Are you able to recall that in the perfect competition we have discussed about perfect knowledge?
Yes, sir.
So in case of perfect competition, tell me, do we presume that buyers and sellers have knowledge about the market? What kind of knowledge they have in the perfect competition?
Sellers have the knowledge.
Sorry? Hello.
Seller have the knowledge of all the
That means
products in
basically
the
buyers and sellers have the complete knowledge about the market or the partial knowledge about the market in case of perfect competition.
partial.
Are you sure?
Not full.
No,
not partial full, sir.
You are sure partial knowledge in the
Yes, sir, full.
full. Are you sure?
Yes.
So in case of perfect competition, buyers and sellers have complete knowledge about the market. Okay. But in case of monopolistic competition, we presume that buyers and sellers do not have the perfect knowledge. Okay. And it seems, it also seems practically impossible to have the complete knowledge about everything in the market. So it seems more realistic that buyers and sellers do not have the perfect knowledge about the market situation. All right. Let's move to the next point. Next is what kind of demand curve will be here in the monopolistic competition. Demand curve will always be downward sloping, right? Demand curve will always be, tell me, what kind of demand curve will it have? Downward sloping. Do you know when demand curve is downward sloping? Demand curve is always downward sloping when a seller can sell more quantity only by reducing the price of the commodity. All right. If seller can sell more quantity of the commodity only by reducing the price of the commodity, in that case, demand curve of the firm will be downward sloping. All right. So in case of monopolistic competition, we presume that demand curve is downward sloping. And why do we presume that it is a downward sloping curve? Because in this market, seller will be in a position to sell more quantity of the commodity only by reducing the price of the commodity. Got it? Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
So 7 characteristics we have talked about for in respect of the in respect of the monopolistic competition. Kindly recall all the characteristics for me, Steve. What are the characteristics I have told you?
Lack of perfect knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
Freedom of entry and exit,
Mm-hmm. What about the number of buyers and sellers?
yes, sir.
Tell me.
There are several number of buyers and sellers.
Mm-hmm. What about the product?
Products are differentiated,
Differentiated. And product can be differentiated on the basis of?
shape, color, and sizes.
Okay. And what about the advertisement expenses?
Advertisement are put because so that there is attraction for the consumer.
Will there be advertisement cost? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
There will be advertisement cost. Okay. And why do we incur advertisement cost in monopolistic competition? How many?
So that more customers would come.
So the more customers will come. This is the first reason, no?
Yeah.
What is the other reason? So first reason of advertisement is to bring awareness about the product
And non-price competitions.
No price competition. I'm not asking about that. I'm asking why do we incur advertisement costs? Why do we make expenditure on advertisement? We make expenditure on advertisement for two purposes. First, to bring awareness about the differentiated characteristic of the product among the seller, among the customers, number one. And also we make expenditure just to increase the overall market shareholding, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, next.
Non-price competition.
Non-price competition, perfect. And okay, when firm do not compete with each other on the basis of price, on what basis they actually compete with each other?
Advertisement for after sales.
After sales services, advertisement, and tell me more.
Offers.
Offers, okay. Okay, so all of these things we have discussed about the monopolistic competition. Okay, so Steve, could you please differentiate between the perfect competition and monopolistic competition? What do you think? What are the differences between the perfect competition and the monopolistic competition?
Perfect competition have perfect knowledge about buyers and sellers have the perfect knowledge about the market, and in monopolistic competition, buyers and sellers do not have a lack of perfect knowledge.
Perfect, very good. And we can also differentiate between the perfect and the monopolistic on the basis of product, no?
Yes, sir.
Tell me. On the basis of product,
monopolistic competition have differentiable products, and perfect competition have products.
homogeneous product.
Homogeneous products.
Okay. And what about prices?
Prices. Imperfect combination prices are prices are high and in monopolistic competitions, prices are
Hmm.
less than the
Monopolistic competition
original.
prices are less. No, that is not what I'm asking. In case of perfect competition, there is no control over the price of the product by an individual firm. Firm in this situation is a price taker. Firm is not able to decide the price of the commodity. But in case of that means in case of perfect competition, firm have no control over the price of the commodity, right? But in case of monopolistic competition, firm have partial control over the price of the commodity, and that partial control comes from the product differentiation,
Comes up for
right?
yes, sir.
Okay. Tell
Yes,
me
sir.
more. Tell me about the differentiate between both these market on the basis of advertisement.
Yes, sir. In perfect combination advertisement are meant so that
Just tell me in brief that in perfect competition, are we required to spend on advertisement? Yes or no?
no,
No. In case of monopolistic competition, are we required to spend on advertisement? Yes or no?
yes,
Yes. You are guessing it, or are you sure about this?
I'm sure.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Tell me about the demand curve. What kind of demand curve do we have in the monopolistic competition, and what kind of demand curve we will have in the perfect competition?
In monopolistic combination, demand curve is downwards, and in perfect competition, the demand curve is upwards.
It will be upward sloping in case of perfect competition.
Yes, sir.
In case of perfect competition, price changes or price remains same.
Price changes.
In case of perfect competition, Steve, try to pay attention. No, what kind
Uh,
of price perfect firms in the perfect competition charge? Every firm sells the product at the same price or different price?
same price.
Same price, correct. And because every seller is selling the product at the same price, therefore, demand curve will always be parallel to x-axis, right?
Yes,
It will be a straight line diagram parallel to x-axis. So in case of the perfect competition, demand curve is perfectly elastic, or you can say it is parallel to x-axis. And in case of monopolistic competition, demand curve is always downward sloping. All right.
yes, sir.
Okay. All right. This is it. So let's move to the next type of market. This one is the last form of market. This is called oligopoly market. Repeat after me.
Oligopoly.
Oligopoly market. Perfect. And what is oligopoly market? Oligopoly market is a market structure. Obviously, it is a form of market like any other market. It is a oligopoly market wherein seller sells homogeneous as well as differentiated products. So both kind of product are being sold in this market.
Yes,
Seller
sir.
may sell the homogeneous product as well. Seller may sell the differentiated product as well. All right.
Yes, sir.
And see, these are the few examples. If you are aware about the Indian cement industry, so Steve, where are you actually from? You're from India, no?
Yes, sir.
So have you ever heard about all of these cements? ACC, Ultratech, Ambuja, Binani, Aditya.
Yes, sir.
You have ever heard of it?
I have heard, sir.
Sorry?
I have heard.
Sorry?
I know, sir. I have heard.
You know all of these. All right. So what is similar about all of these brands? What do they sell?
Cement.
Sorry?
Yes, it's cement.
Cement. All these companies sell cement. Okay. Now, do you think their product is different from each other product? Or product will be same, only the packaging is different? Cement will be
Yeah.
cement, no.
Yes, sir.
Only the packaging will be different, right?
Yes, sir.
So that means all these companies are actually different companies, but all these companies are selling exactly same kind of product. That means every sellers are selling homogeneous product. And because there are only few companies operating in the industry, in the cement industry, how many companies are there? There might be, I think, 5 to 10 companies maximum operating all over India. So 10 companies operating in India, you will be these companies will be treated as only few industries, right? You will consider that the sellers are not large in numbers in if you talk about the entire country. So if there are only 10 or 20 sellers in the market, that means cement industry is a kind of oligopoly market because there are only few sellers in the market. Number one. And all these sellers are selling which kind of product? Although all these sellers are selling homogeneous product, same product.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now let's talk about the pizza industry. So popularly in pizza industry, we have Domino's, we have Pizza Hut and the McDonald's as well, right? So what
Yes,
is common about all of these industry, all of these companies, that all of these companies sells fast food. So do you think fast food of the pizza, or why should we talk about all the fast food? Let's talk about only pizza. So do you think Pizza Hut's pizza and Domino's pizza and McDonald's pizza is exactly same in respect of everything, or there will be some differences?
there will be some differences.
There will be some difference, right? However,
Yes,
all of these companies deals in the same segment, but their product is different from each other. That means we can say that pizza industry is a oligopoly because there are only few sellers in the market. There are only few companies who are selling pizza at the national level, right? Is that correct?
yes,
Because there are only few sellers, so we can call it a oligopoly market. And all these companies are selling what kind of product? They are selling differentiated product. Segment wise, all these companies are same.
yes, sir.
But all these companies are selling different product. Therefore,
Therefore, it is an homogeneous product.
homogeneous product. Perfect. Okay. That is not not homogeneous, differentiated product. All these companies are selling differentiated product. All right. Okay, let's talk about this industry, steel industry. So in the steel industry in India, we have, you must have heard about the Tata Steel or the Jindal Steel or SAIL. All of these are the steel companies in India.
Yes, sir.
So popularly, there are only 3-4 companies that operates in the steel industry. So if there are only 3-4 companies that are operating in the steel industry, so what do you call this industry? It will be considered as the monopoly, perfect competition, or oligopoly, because there are only three sellers. No,
Yes, sir.
tell me which industry, in which category this industry will fall into?
Oligopoly.
Oligopoly. Why? Because oligopoly, the definition of oligopoly is that market wherein there are few sellers is known as the oligopoly market. So because steel industry only have few sellers, 3, 4, 5 or 6 sellers only. So therefore steel industry is a oligopoly market. Now tell me, the steel that Tata Steel will be producing, or the Jindal Steel and SAIL will be producing, all the product that is produced by all these companies will be exactly same or different?
Same.
Correct. Steel will be same for every company, right? Steel of every company will be exactly same. So that means this is a oligopoly market and every seller is selling same product. Getting my point? The thing that I want to make it here is that in case of oligopoly market, firm can sell the same product also, firm can sell the differentiated product also. Like in case of pizza industry, you have seen that every firm is selling different kind of product. So that is a oligopoly market, but selling different product. In case of steel, you have seen that all the firms are selling same kind of product, so homogeneous product. All right. Similarly, in case of cement industry also, there were there were few sellers, and who all those sellers are selling same kind of product, homogeneous products. Okay. Let's now also talk about the airlines industry. So in case of airline industry also, there are only few sellers, few companies who provide airline services. There are you can count those companies on finger. In fact, there will not be, I think, more than 10 or 15 companies working all over India. All right. So airline industry is a oligopoly market, and all these companies are providing what? These are all providing the airline services.
Yes, sir.
So every company is providing the same product. Companies are different, but services that they are providing is exactly same. So airlines industry will fall into the category of the oligopoly market, and because this is selling the same kind of product, homogeneous product, therefore it will be known as perfect oligopoly. See, try to understand this. Oligopoly market can be divided into two parts. If firms in the oligopoly market are selling exactly same kind of product, then it will be known as perfect oligopoly. And if firms in the oligopoly market are selling different product, like in case of pizza industry, you have seen that every firm is selling different product. So that means it will be known as imperfect oligopoly. Got it? Perfect oligopoly means few firms selling same product.
Yes, sir.
Perfect oligopoly, and few firms selling different product. Imperfect oligopoly. Is this clear? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let's move to the next point. Every seller, because there are only few sellers in the market, no? Because there are only few sellers in the market, therefore every seller every seller have significant control in the market share. Every seller will be acquiring major shareholding in the entire market. Every seller will have the significant share of the market. Is that clear, Steve?
Yes, sir.
And as there are only few sellers in the market, every seller influences and get influenced by the behavior of the other firm also. So right now, just skip this particular point. We will be talking about all these things later. Let's move to the next point, types of oligopoly. So we have 4 types of oligopoly market. First is called the perfect oligopoly, imperfect oligopoly. I have already explained this. Perfect oligopoly is a type of market wherein there are few sellers selling same kind of product. Imperfect oligopoly is few sellers selling differentiated product. Now collusive oligopoly basically mean there are few sellers in the market and some of them are working together. If 2 or more firms start working together, it will be known as the collusive oligopoly market. If 2 or firms, let's say, if you must have seen in the automobile industry that a few years back, 2 companies were working together. Are you able to recall the name of the company in the bike industry? 2 companies who were actually working together, now working independently. Are you able to recall the name of those companies? Steve, yes or no? Steve.
Yes, sir.
Are you able to recall the name of those companies who were working together in the automobile industry earlier?
Yes, sir.
Say no, at least say yes or say no.
No, sir.
Have you heard about Hero Honda?
Yes, sir.
So what do you think, Hero Honda is a same company or 2 different companies are there?
2 different companies.
2 different companies were there. Hero is a separate company and Honda is a separate company.
Yes, sir.
So earlier they were working together. So this is a type of collusive oligopoly. If there are few firms operating in a particular market and few of those firms start working together, they enter into an agreement and then they start working together. You can say they enter into a partnership kind of thing. So it will be known as the collusive oligopoly. All right.
Yes, sir.
And what is non-collusive oligopoly? Oligopoly wherein few sellers are operating in the market and all the sellers are operating independently. Like you can see in the airlines industry, every airline company is operating independently. No airline company is joining hand with the other company. No airline company is basically a partnership, has entered into partnership agreement with the other airline industry. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So we have different types of oligopoly: perfect, imperfect, collusive, and non-collusive. So Steve, this is it for today's class. We will talk about more about oligopoly market, and we will also talk about what is perfect, imperfect, collusive, and non-collusive market in detail in the next class. We will also talk about various features of the oligopoly market. But it's a request that before attending next class, make sure you revise everything. Make sure you revise topics regarding the perfect, competition, monopolistic, oligopoly, and everything else. Only then you will be able to understand everything in the next class. All right. And do drop a message to LearnDVO regarding the PowerPoint. I have already shared the PowerPoint for you, and I think they might forgot to share it with you. So just drop a mail or do a message to the team that you require PowerPoint of the forms of market chapter, economics, microeconomics. All right. And you will get the PowerPoint of this chapter. And make sure you revise everything from that PowerPoint. All right.
Okay, sir.
So this is it.